Okay, let's fix this in place. And let me see, just to be safe, let's go ahead and apply a linear dimensional constraint to this line to make sure it doesn't change length. And also, let me see if I can like change the orientation of the, oh yeah, you see how I can change the orientation of the line. Now it didn't I didn't have to worry about that with the first line. We already checked it, remember, but for this one we do. So let me use the horizontal constraint, and then I will click here, and now let's see if this line can move. Okay, so now I just tried to move it and it would not move. Alright, so we have to keep this this geometry maintained so we can use it. Okay, so now let's draw the arc with a radius of 2.38. Alright, so we'll go back to the Home tab, and I'll go C, and let me, I know that the center of the circle needs to be somewhere on this line. We don't know exactly where on this line, unfortunately, because this is one of those dimensions that would have helped us out greatly if we could have known, for example, like how far left or right it would have been from the center of the circle. But all we're given is that it's offset by 0.12 up, but we don't know as far as left or right where the center is. So I'm just going to put it in here close, kind of like what they've shown in the book, okay, using my nearest snap. So there's the center of my circle, and I need to define the radius at 2.38, okay, and there you can see our circle. Now, you can tell by looking at the text that this arc comes down and it's tangent to this circle, or what will be an arc when we get done. So let's do a little better job. Let me get this a little closer to the end. I'm going to use my center snap here. And snap to the center. And I'm going to get it a little closer to that vertical line. And just so it's on the outside edge here. Okay. So basically I want to make sure that my geometry stays at the size that it needs to be. So I'm going to go back and apply a radial dimensional constraint. So I'm going to click on this circle, and this will make sure that this circle stays at a radius of 2.38. I'll click outside because I don't need to rename it. And also this circle needs, the center of the circle needs to stay on, I say on this line, but basically at this elevation is what I want to constrain it to. So I need a coincident constraint, so I'll click on the coincident constraint, and then this circle, and then this line. Okay. Now, if everything is constrained properly, if I try to move this circle, it should only move left or right. And unfortunately, it looks like it's, let me undo that last, I saw it move a little bit, and I was not sure why. Don't forget your handy undo. I'll move this a little further away here. I think what it tried to do is to snap to the endpoint when I did the coincident constraint, which is not what I wanted. So let me go to coincident again. Click on the circle. Oh, I know what happened. I forgot to type O for object, or click on O here. So let me click object and then click on that line, and now the circle is constrained to that line. Before, when I did it, let me back up and I'll show you. I incorrectly entered the, I clicked on the circle and it was asking for my second point. So when I clicked, it clicked on the end point of the line and it constrained the circle to the line instead of the object. But I just want it to be on that line somewhere, not the end point. Okay. Okay, so now I need to properly constrain it. Alright, so coincident constraint, click on the circle, object, then I'll click on this line. Okay, so now I should be able to move this circle, but only left and right. Okay, it doesn't stay on the line. I say on the line, but it stays at that same elevation, which is really all I care about. Okay, the last constraint I want to apply is, like I mentioned, this circle has to be tangent to this circle. Okay. Now the order that you do this matters. Okay. So I want to apply a tangent constraint here and here, and you can see that it pulled the circle into place. Now I may have applied enough geometric constraints that this won't happen, but let's just say I picked the tangent constraint and then went large circle to small circle. And you can see that since I hadn't applied any kind of constraints to that circle, that it pulled it to the larger one, which is not what I wanted. So let's do it the right way. I'll click on the circle, and then I want to pull this to the first circle. Okay. All right. So, and you can also see that this circle was not, this position was not affected by this operation. Okay. So we're moving along slowly but surely, and so now let's look at the radius 3 dimension. Now we know that, let me go to my home tab and get on the construction layer. We know that the center of the radius 3 arc is somewhere below the center point of this radius 2.12 circle. So let's just draw a line from the center point. Make sure that you snap to the center point of the 2.12 circle. I kept saying line. And it really doesn't matter how long this is. I'm just going to draw it down so it's obvious it's a construction line. Okay. So this originates at the center of the 2.12 radius circle, and our radius 3 arc is center point is somewhere on this line. Again, it would have been helpful if we would have had a vertical dimension here so we knew exactly where it was, but we're not given that. Okay. But we can find it using the same technique that we've been using. So I'm going to draw a circle on my visible layer, and with my nearest snap, I want to left click on the vertical line and define a radius of 3. Alright, so I want to go to my my parametric constraints, and I want to, I don't care about the length of this line, but I do want to fix it in place. So let's see if I can do that. Fix, and then click on, it's asking me to select a point, so I'm just going to click right now, and it should fix that line where the endpoint is fixed there. Okay, let me try to move it and see what happens. Okay, it still allows me to grip edit, but if I try to move it left or right, it does not move because that point is fixed. Now let's apply a vertical constraint to make sure that line stays vertical. So I'm going to click on vertical and then click on that line. Okay. So, and again, I don't care how long this line is. It just needs to stay vertical, and it needs to stay in the same place. Okay. So now let's see what I can do with this. Let's apply a coincident constraint between the circle, and I need to tell it that I want not a point but a line, but the object. So click on object. Okay. So now this circle can move up and down. Okay. But I don't want to forget to apply a radial dimensional constraint to make sure it can't change sizes. So I'll apply that, and then click off of it because I don't want to edit the name. Okay, so now I should be able to move this circle up and down, but not left to right. Just up and down, and which is exactly what we want. I'll get it kind of close to where it needs to be. You know, this radius 3 arc is going to be tangent to the radius 2.12 arc. So let me kind of get that a little closer. And there's another way that you could do this too, by the way, but I just wanted to go ahead and continue with this concept. Alright, so tangent constraint, and then I'll click on that circle and then this circle, and you can see that nothing has changed. The position has not changed, and now this circle is tangent to this. Okay. Alright, so we're moving along, and let me see what we can do at this point. You see that there is a line that is tangent to this circle, and tangent to